All right, everybody, welcome to another week of really the hero's journey within sales. I have Brandon Allen. He's actually my mortgage coach. So that's what I'm going to call him because he's a freaking stud. I've loved getting to know him over here at Fulcrum Home Loans. But most importantly, I just respect the crap out of him, how much he evaluates his time, and his story is phenomenal. We started in the industry about the same time, and obviously he is crushing it in a little town here in Idaho, and I don't even call it a little town because his production definitely backs that up. So thanks, Brandon. Thanks for joining me. Well, cool, man. I really want to dive deep into, dude. You live in Moscow, Idaho, and you started doing loans. Tell us, how did that start? Yep. That's so cool. I think that's like it's interesting. I think if you talk to almost every LO, there's been some point in their life where they're in customer service and then they converted it into sales and they're like, well, okay, I can combine all my experience and put it into here and then just go. So, yeah, I knocked doors and I wasn't good at it, but I've always been really good at marketing. I mean, I've got a marketing degree. So for like 12 years now, basically you could call me a content creator for other people. And now I'm finally doing it for myself. But that's, I don't know, I think that's what's unique about mortgages is like, I mean, you can tell me if I'm wrong, but like I'm kind of introverted, but then I'm very extroverted too. Like I love talking to people in front of a crowd, but then like come Sunday, I'm fat dogging it on the couch watching golf, kicking it with the fam, right? Like just don't talk to me. And I think you're 100% right. In the retail credit union banking world, they make it sound like it's such this like prize sales position when I've been around prize sales people and their mindsets are everything that I lacked while I was in the credit union space. I kept on like, trying to double up every single year and nobody's coming along, it felt like, right? And when I was in the door to door, it felt like there was a tribe. There was like, we were in the trenches, there's bullets flying every day. Like, I still am very, very close with those guys that I went and knocked doors for that summer because we had to get out of the car, be dropped off with an iPad, and see you later until 9 o'clock, right? So it's just a different mindset when you burn the ships and actually go all in. And it's unique as some of the conversations you and I have had where you're coaching me. Um, this market is not easy, but man, it's super fun for those that are actually leaning into it and like actually going for it. And kind of our tribe is that way, but we've built that tribe, so, Oh, thanks, man. No. So tell us kind of how you landed where you're at now. I mean, if I think about a pendulum and mortgages, I think there's like credit union banking. Then there's kind of like this, mortgage company that's not really a bank, but they just pump out mortgages. And then full on broker send where you and I are now. And when I went from here to over here, it was not an easy path, but I knew that this was like where I could 10x. Tell me a little bit more about your mindset and just kind of that flow that you went through.
So going from a manager of a bank to then a solo producer, it was like a new life because all of my performance leading up to that point was based upon other people's efforts, activities, and effectiveness, right? Uh, so then getting my go at what's your salt work, like what are you going to do with this opportunity? I quickly realized that the product that I was selling was decent, right? I mean, everybody has the same conventional USDA, FHA, VA products, but the fulfillment of those products was pretty broken. So I'm riding the wrong horse, but I'm running in the right race. So I realized that really quickly, and I realized that I needed to make a change. So about 6 months into my journey as a loan officer, no base salary, commissioned only, scared out of my mind. Um, in fact, when I transitioned from a salaried branch manager to a loan officer, I only had $5,000 to my name. They were going to give me a 90-day base salary of $3,000 a month, and then after that, it's gone. So I've more than half my income with no savings really to speak of, and I went and opened $60,000 worth of credit cards in case I failed as a safety net, bro. It was brutal, and I realized, okay, I'm running out of money. I'm running the right race, but the wrong horse. And I started to look around and found a retail lender, retail mortgage company, a mortgage bank that said, hey, we're going to train you how to do mortgages and train you how to scale your business. And I quickly felt like I went from, playing Mario Kart to actually driving a race car.
Yeah.
And they did. They showed me the roadmap, how to build relationships, how to structure your week, how to build a mortgage, how to fulfill it. And that's where I learned my sales was from that company. And it was phenomenal. What I didn't realize is that my compensation was absolute garbage and their rates were wildly expensive. So, you know what I'm saying? Like, you don't know these things when you get into business, how much you can be taken advantage of. And when I started to produce really consistently, getting to, 7, 8, 9, 10 units a month consistently, I realized that I was selling the right thing. I was riding in the right race, but I could do it even better. And so I leveled up, went to a different mortgage bank that had much better margins, much better fulfillment, took those sales skills. And every year, so my first year, I did 13 million, 12 million. My second year, I did, 36. No, 36, 72. And then it's been like 70 this year. We're on track to do about 80 mil. And it's been a lot of fun. But one of the biggest things that happened in that was COVID.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you remember how brutal that was.
Yeah.
It was
Like
wild.
my COVID was like this. So we had my first daughter, Noelle, or Holland, sorry, May of 2020. So rates just dropped the month before. So like, I kind of don't remember much because I just bought a new house, have a new daughter. Rates are going nuts. Like,
Yeah.
it was so fun though. I remember just being in my little cockpit. I always called my desk my cockpit because like I was just flying and it was a blast. But it's funny you touched on because I, for me, being around sales and like also doing the video, like I was the video guy, I was the guy behind the video camera filming all this door to door sales guys for sales training. So I learned very quickly like their habits and what they were doing, and I would try to implement that into mortgages. But when I was at a credit union, it was all about the member experience.
Yeah, sure.
And I kept on thinking to myself, like, how do I make this the Tyler experience and like 10x this? And in 21, February and March, there was a 6 week span where I did 43 loans in 6 weeks without an assistant, and I was all by myself.
Yeah.
And it was like, okay, there's there's got to be a different way to do this. And like, I finished the year pretty strong. I was like just shy of like 50 million that year. And then the next year, like, rates started doing what they were doing, and I just started enjoying my family. I took my foot off the gas for sure, because I was like trying to reevaluate, like, how do I make this a career and not burn out? And how I found you and Braden was like at the right time, at the right moment. And now I'm looking at my business totally different. It's not a service anymore. It's like an actual business. And how do I make this experience for people that are actually doing mortgages with us? Because I believe in the product, but now I need to enhance that experience. And I think that's the coolest thing that I've learned from like you and others is like, it's cool to deliver a mortgage, it's cool to sell, but like, how do we make this stick? How do we make these people like super fans of us and not just be like, oh yeah, he's a mortgage guy with cool shoes.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know?
But that's a part of your brand, right? Which is super
Yeah.
important. But the thing is if we're all selling the same product and we can have different pricing, of course, what do we do that distinguishes us? And how do we take that borrower experience and level it up? And naturally, when you're coming from the retail world, like the credit union you worked for had great pricing, right? It just didn't have great
Yep.
fulfillment and support for your business to grow and scale. Like 43 loans over 6 weeks is savage. Like you probably didn't have a soul at the end of that, right? Like just takes a lot. Takes a lot.
Yeah, it was like 6:30 to like 9 o'clock at night, and like I don't remember much other than this notepad that I just pounded through, right? Like,
Yeah.
just because I'm still a written hand guy. That Yeah,
Crazy.
it was a crazy time, but it also allowed me to realize like I'm calloused. I'm built for this. Like, I got this. If I can do a COVID years and I can do that, then get smarter, work harder, but do it the right way. Like you said, get on the right horse because you're in the right race. And like once you find the right horse, dude, the sky's the limit. Like, hang on, because like 5 years down the road, it's like gonna be wicked. So
That's exactly right. And COVID, it's weird because it was such a difficult thing to go through as a society, right? And as an individual, families were crushed, finances were just demolished for a lot of people. But in the mortgage space, it was the Wild West, right? There was Niagara Falls coming at you every single day, and all you had to learn to do was to scale your processes big enough to capture it. You saw this on both the real estate agent side as well as the lender side.
Yep.
And it allowed very low level players who chose to do what you said and tap into that gas tank, use their reserves, just go 100 miles an hour as hard as they could to level up. You immediately got a chance to play in the A leagues. I can remember the year before COVID, so 2019, the company that I worked for put on they called it a summit, right? They were going to give a bunch of awards out, big company thing. We all located in one central spot. And the number one producer in the company with units did 365 units that year for 60 million. It was like super loan amounts in his area. Anyways, I thought this guy was like a demigod.
Yeah.
Right.
Yep.
And that's big production. 360 plus units. That's a lot of production. But then what COVID did is allowed all of us to start to ramp up our production and touch those big unit numbers, which if you don't have the opportunity to experience that, then you don't know what systems you need to build to make that a possibility. So it gave us a really great opportunity to either level up or to realize that we're completely broken, not meant for this business. You make a ton of money a couple of years, and now those are the loan officers that are doing 2 or 3 units a month right now instead of breaking new records like we are. Right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So like transitioning to the broker world, this was by far the hardest thing I've ever experienced.
Yeah.
Bro, like my first 60 days were so brutal because you learn to do, 50, 60, 70 million in the retail world, and it's expensive. Then you're getting your butt hammered because all you're doing is getting shopped, borrowers are flaky, realtors are flaky, and you realize that just being able to close a loan in 17 days or 21 days, like anybody can do that now because volumes drop so much.
Yep.
So what's the distinguishing thing? Anybody can give great experience because they're the only 3 clients that they're serving at the time. So your experience differential, gone. Your pricing differential, exacerbated, right? Your fulfillment differential, banks were being able to fulfill loans in the same amount of time that other retail mortgage shops were that were so much more dialed in simply because the volume wasn't there. They didn't have any other work to do. So what are you going to do to distinguish yourself? And what's the market saying? Well, the market's saying we demand transparency in the pricing. Okay, so how do I give that? And you can't give it at a retail shop that's charging 2 to 3 times as much on the back end of every loan. So how do you do it? Well, the broker world was the answer for me. And I'll tell you, after I got outside of those 60 days and truly felt like for the first time ever, I was an entrepreneur, truly. I had a business, truly. Yep. I was responsible for everything. Look at my P&L, right?
Yep.
My production doubled. And it was just making a few minor tweaks, getting around great guys like you and the other leaders at Fulcrum, and just listening and seeing, like, I don't have to recreate the wheel. I can look up to the people that have gone before me, make it my own, and now we're off to the races.
Dude, I love that because it actually, I would say the first 60 days is ridiculously hard. Because one, you got to pass your test and get your license. That's the big elephant in the room. You got to get it done. And once you get that done, you feel like a demigod because you just made that, because you made it probably bigger than what it really is. It wasn't that bad, because we've been in this space, but man, it weighs over you. There's a little ball and chain until that thing's gone. And then from there, you start to like build the confidence to go back and like hit it even harder. But what I've appreciated this time around is I've kind of just tore myself all the way down and said, okay, you're ridiculously good at being a marketer. Like you can go sell, you can go sway people, but what you're not good at is when those, 40 plus loans come in 6 weeks. You can't do that again if that comes in the next year, 6 months, year and a half. So what can you do to like get somebody there? The who, not the how. And I read that book and it's like stuck with me so hard. Is like, if I'm going to go 10x, it's a who, not a how, because I can't mentally, bandwidth, whatever you want to call it, can't do that if I want 10x.
Yep.
And actually giving up something that I had control of, because I'm a kind of a control freak. Like, I had to be though, right? In the credit union space, it was like I had to own the conveyor belt because the conveyor belt did not move unless I freaking pushed the button. The moment I wasn't pushing the button, it stops.
Yep.
And you can't take any time off. And what I've loved completely is going through and building the trust of admins and the build team and like getting these processes in place. So I just went on a family vacation to West Yellowstone. I shut off my phone for a day. I haven't done that in 6 years.
That's wild.
And it was sick because everything worked and it was fine. I just wanted to try. And guess what? 2 loans funded the next day without anything. I didn't even have to respond. Didn't have to take a check to the freaking title company.
Yeah.
I was in West Yellowstone enjoying my family. And it made me realize like all the things that you're coaching and teaching, like that time is so valuable. Well, it is, but like, stop being the 80% of wasting time. How many times do we find ourselves at a desk, scrolling on Facebook, Instagram, whatever? No, get harsh with yourself and stop doing that stuff. You don't do that in the gym. If you do that in the gym, you're just soft.
Yeah.
And so it's been so, I don't know, it's been like rewarding for me. But man, it's been freaking hard too, because it feels like I just went into a boot camp and just like I'm trying to become a Navy SEAL and I'm in Hell Week, which is like probably 6 months, but it's so worth it because like you have so much clarity. You have so much like clarity is probably the best word. Like I know exactly where I'm going. I know exactly how to work. I know what's going to happen. If I push this, it's going to do this. and I can let some things go. It's
Bro,
cool.
I love that. I love the mindset, number one. But really what you're saying is I'm being honest with myself,
Oh yeah.
right? Like I'm truly looking in the mirror and I'm not allowing the hype. I'm not allowing the self-help books, the motivational Goggins video, to give me a false sense of who I am. I'm saying like right now, these are my strengths, these are my weaknesses. And then from there, attacking where it's appropriate. Like you can't
hmm
get any more effective than honesty with yourself. You know what I'm saying?
Oh, it always starts with ourselves. But I think we're the biggest liars and salesmen to ourselves.
Tell me
Like,
more, like explain that, like walk that out.
I have 100 pairs of shoes, right? A lot of people know that. Okay?
Okay.
Hear me out on this. For a long time, shoes were like something that gave me confidence to let someone know who I was.
Okay.
I haven't bought a pair of shoes in 6 months. And I had someone on this podcast. We were driving home and he said, "You know what's funny? Is shoes and vehicles, sometimes you can spot someone's ego or just their ego through the way that they take care of it. And there's nothing wrong with taking care of clean shoes or clean cars, but like your ego can be very well portrayed through that if you allow it. If it's not you and it's not your brand and it's not who you are, then it's also just a safety mechanism. It's like, hey, I'm not confident right now, but I'm gonna wear these flashy shoes so you can see me, so you can remember me. But like,
Yep.
I don't want to come over and shake your hand and actually have a warm conversation with you. When he said that, I was like, oof, talk about why I didn't get married until I was 28. Like, that girl's like beautiful. I don't want to go talk to her. I'm a little scared, but no, she remembers that I match my shoes with my shirt. Okay, then we're cool. We do that all the time though. Like we set up these safety mechanisms for ourselves to like, oh, I go to the gym, I'm okay. I may have a gut, but I got biceps. Like you could find so many little flaws within
Yeah.
yourself, but as you look in the mirror and you actually look at your eyes, there's a scripture that I love that's impacted me pretty much my whole life. It's like he saw with an eye of faith. What that means is like he had a vision and something that he did not believe yet has happened, but he had enough faith to go make it happen. And like when we truly get raw with ourselves and look at ourselves with our eyes tells us everything. Not all this, not all that, just our eyes and how pure they are, because that'll also dictate where we're going and where we want to go. And we dictate how much we want to believe in that. And this whole process of becoming a broker, I've had a lot of moments to look in the mirror and look at my eyes. Where are we going? What's it for? It's not for this. What's it for? Like, why? And that's what's been cool for me.
Bro, I was thinking about, as you were sharing that, the reality of self-deception or self-perception is so important in the actions that follow, right? I'm not familiar with what scripture that you're specifically referring to, but seeing with eyes, he saw with an eye of faith. Like essentially what he's saying is, and what you're saying is, if you think something about yourself or you think something about a task, a goal, or whatever, oftentimes you're right. So if you're waking up every day and saying like, I can't make that phone call, I can't go talk to that realtor, or that borrower's already mad at me, like I can't win him over. Like, yeah, you're right. You can't, because you've already let go of the belief that you could. That's so important, man. And that's something that I struggle with, honestly. Like the demons that I fight personally in my head. Everybody has their own demons that they're battling against. And a lot of mine comes down to like this imposter syndrome of you shouldn't be doing this. Like you're not good enough to be a coach. You're not good enough to lead a team. Like those goals that you have, the visions that you have, like chill out, little boy. Like go back to the sandbox, because that's for the really successful people. right? And if I let those things then infiltrate my actions, if I don't attack those, if I don't overcome those, then it's right. I'm right. I'm not worthy of those things. That's impactful, man.
No, and I'm in another mastermind group up here, Man on a Mission. And I made it a commitment if I was going to invest into this group, I was going to be super vulnerable and just go straight to the raw, because that's the only way you live or like can grow. And I was just going to give to a point where like you get something in return, but like not be taken advantage of, right? And I went back to a gratitude journal. Like the Gap in the Gain talks about it all the time. Like 3 things you're thankful for today, 3 wins you're thankful for. I started doing that again, like just like 6 weeks ago. July is not a good month for me, but I'm actually grateful for it because it's taught me and humbled me and it's gotten me back because June was a good month. Like it was like the first month where I was like, all right, this broker world's sick.
Coming back.
But I don't know. I think to your point, the more we give, the more we coach, the more we teach, the more we give to our spouses, everybody around us, the more light we share, the more confidence we get to just keep stepping more into the darkness, more into the darkness, more into the darkness. And that's what this has really done. Like I can't really fathom like the impact of just me all of a sudden going from no social media to a video a day. The DMs that I'm getting, the text messages that I'm getting, and like it gives me motivation because I love that because it's a talent of mine that I want to share. And it's just like the parable of the talents. Like you share your talents, you're going to expand them. Do I think it'll make me rich? No, it's not about that. It's about giving. It's about sharing my light. Will it impact me later on? I hope so, but it's also a journey that hopefully one day my daughters actually go back and look at my social media and they're like, dude, Dad was kind of cool, even though I know he was like struggling in that crazy market and he was probably stressed out about mom and all this stuff. But like he was out there just sharing that and screaming from the rooftops, like, be positive, just keep going, have a good mindset, look with an eye of faith, just keep pounding forward, be yourself, like, love yourself, like, just keep doing the small things. And like, that's how I see that lens when I post something. It may not seem that way on the consumer side, but I want my daughters to hear my story through social media. Not me. Dude, I don't care about me.
That's so funny to think about. Like, you and I, our generation, when we look back at our grandparents, what is it called? Scrapbooks, right?
Oh, yeah.
You see those black and white photos and like the suit and the beautiful wedding day. And you're like, I wish I knew I wish I knew what people were thinking, right? Or what that experience was like. And now this is the first time ever that I've thought about this. Like when we're old and our grandkids are looking back at our social media accounts, like they're going to know so much more about us because of that. The stories that they'll know that we haven't told them or forgotten about, they'll be able to go back and actually learn from those things. That's so wild. The amount of information that will be imputed a couple generations down line from what we do right now. So for non-sales people, if anybody non-sales related is looking at this and saying like, oh, social media is just for influencers or salespeople or whatever, like look at this. Like all you're doing is documenting your life, and now you have something to share with the generations that come. That's so wild. I never thought of that.
Yeah, I'm like, I try to keep a journal. I don't know if you ever like sometimes just like mind dump on a Word document and then you try to put it in an archive somewhere or whatever. But like I think about that so often. When my daughter's like 23 years old, does she know how I felt when I was 23? Now I have social media like say 23, 25, but does she know the actual behind the scenes, not just like the cool like here's everything good in my life? Does she know about the inner battles? And I think that's the funnest part about social media right now is showing like it's cool what we do, right? We talk and educate people on finances and all that stuff, but like it's also really cool to show you can be a powerful individual that believes, that has an awesome family, and that cares about people. And that's a great message to share with people because there's not enough of that out there.
Yeah. Yeah,
But heaven
especially right
forbid
now.
we post another listing pick
Oh, dude,
or another closing pick. And like we're all guilty of it. Like don't get
for
me wrong, I
sure.
do the exact same thing. But like I don't know, if you change the lens to like I am going to post and tell a story of who I am, what I am for my kids and my generations to come, it totally shifts how you are
That's
on
wild.
social media.
I'm gonna have to think about that. Like, I'm actually gonna have to think about
Your
how
boy
my
kind of highlights that with the following
which one forward?
or forward. Yeah,
Yeah,
he
Neil.
talks about like um your social media is nothing for you. It's for everybody that consumes it. So why are you talking about yourself? It's kind of good.
Neil. Yeah, like this was obviously I've been in the core,
Hmm.
right? The sales tactics, the tactic heavy sales requirements that come from building a business um, cannot be sacrificed or counterfeited. There's just things that work and things that don't work. Uh, However, I really feel like the biggest miss that I've had in the last 5 years is not documenting the journey, not sharing what it was like to go from literally zero realtors even knowing my name to having a pretty stable business. That doesn't happen on accident. Nobody gets lucky doing that stuff. Yes, we all got blessed with the demand that came through those hard years, COVID. However, we also don't, if we weren't there to put in the work, it didn't come. And it definitely left as soon as rates went up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Kirk Cousins and the quarterback documentary on Netflix. And it's a good documentary.
Okay.
Anyways, it's all about quarterbacks. He's in the bookstore and he picks up a book of Dwayne Wade. And he goes, when I was a kid, I used to figure out how to get to this level or become this. Now I read this and I go, how does Dwayne have the systems and people in play to
Mm.
keep him where he was? The mind shift, like it
Yeah,
shifts. So,
it absolutely does. There's something to be said about uh, this is not aimed at any one person in particular because we all know these types of people, but there is something to be said about counterfeited confidence, counterfeit hype. You see it all over social right now. It's like I think it's an epidemic that is honestly doing the opposite of what it preaches. Like the words are there, but the affect of that message is actually pretty toxic. And it goes like this: hustle, 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 sacrifice everything, and everything is going to work out. Well, like, let's face it, they're the vast majority of people that follow along in these hype junkies are not successful. And it's because you're taking the beauty of the results and the confidence that comes from those results and you're fast forwarding it to the very beginning. The guys that we're actually listening to, David Goggins, Ed Milet, Jocko, right? Like they weren't hyped before they had the results. They weren't that confident. All they had was drive and ambition. And I don't give a shit, I'm going to do it anyways mentality, right? Through the doubters. And that was the fortitude that allowed them then, when all of the wealth and fame and attention came to them, to stay grounded. But when we say to ourselves, like right now, like the let's goes and yeah, boy, like all of the stuff that we hear in sales, when we take that and we put it to the very front of everything and we rely on that hype to get us through the hard stuff that we have to do, like our foundation is built on sand. What it takes is a few very small, quiet, but sustaining thoughts and a whole shitload of dedication to get through actually the hard things. You know what I'm saying?
mm-hmm.
Like
Yeah,
we've got to avoid this. I think it's putrid. This like putrid level of everybody should be an entrepreneur. Everybody should go out and hype it and hustle and yell and rah rah. Like no, like that's a very few select people have what it takes to actually sustain, to earn the stripes. Like I heard this quote today, a group of fighters were talking and said, nobody knows nobody knows the pain and the sacrifice it took. No. Nobody knows the aggression. I think it was something like that it took to become this peaceful. Right? It's like sometimes it takes the opposite to get the result that you're looking for. So if you take the fake and put it up front, like at the end, you're just going to be burnt out.
Well, it's funny because like there's actual real surveys asked about people, and 98% of them said that they did not live up to their dreams or full potential. 98% of them said that.
That's a lot.
And then you go and ask the statistic of how many people actually have $1,000 in their savings account right now. And I think the number was like almost 80% of them or higher than that said, I don't.
Yep.
We live in a fictitious world where we hype it up through social media. I'm scared for kids to be raised that way. I was not raised with a cell phone. I think you hit it on the head. Like, I've been around the rah almost my whole life. So part of me loves it, right? Like, part of me is just like oozes a little bit of it out because it's 15 years of hearing like cool freaking Tony Robbins speeches.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
But like, here's the fact of the matter. When you go, and now I'm 36 years old, we are millennials, and there's not that many millennials that have actually become millionaires because they go and they flash it and then they fall. There's not too many that have built it brick by brick by brick by brick by brick by brick. And those are starting to come out, and they're going to come out in this recession. They're going to actually show their stripes. They're going to show that like you cannot go leverage yourself and fake fictitious things. There is no easy money. There is straight up grab a phone, cold call, knock some motherfucking doors.
Yep.
Like get back to grinding. Like, or go swing a hammer. Stop thinking that school is going to get you there because school is not. I barely even use my degree. But we live in a generation where our parents told us, go to school, everything will be fine. You'll have a comfortable life. But then on social media, we were told, if you want this, you gotta hustle.
Yeah.
But the formula is like, whether you wake up at 5 or whatever, that doesn't freaking matter. What matters is you take care of your mind, your body, and your spirit. Those are the 3 things that keep me going. And those are the 3 things that I try to focus the first thing in the morning, because I'm not going to lie. When I wake up sometimes, I don't want to go to the gym. I don't want to make that phone call, and I don't want to move forward, and I don't want to get out of bed. But I've made it a habit over 15 years to get my ass out of bed and go.
You have to.
And there's no rah-rah on that.
Yeah.
There's no nothing. It's like you put on your boots and you go.
Especially for people in the sales world, right? Everybody's, you were on these calls, asked every single LO in coaching who right now is satisfied, content, okay with their production. Not one LO said yes. And look what happened, right? Coaching was mandatory. And then we had 50% drop. And all we were saying was get face to face, do the things that actually move the needle. So what we're saying is, I'm not satisfied with this, but I'm not willing to make a change. So what you really are saying is, I am satisfied. I'm okay. I'm okay waking up and not having the results that are actually going to not only keep my family fed, but help grow my business and make me better. So this is the part of saying we can't lie to ourselves. Most people aren't built to be entrepreneurs. Most people aren't built to do anything but help fulfill other people's visions. And there's nothing wrong with that. The wrong part is when we lie to ourselves to say that we are, to fit the mold. I live in a very unique community in the sense that it is very small and there's a few loud voices. And some of those loud voices put a heavy emphasis on not working for somebody else. and being very manly and giving a very clear picture of what it means to be a man, what it means to be an entrepreneur, why you should do these things. And the reality is that it produces false maturity, false confidence, false self-image of what you have to do. Yes, a lot of what we innately have within us is something we have to take captive and change, but we can't counterfeit it into something that we're not. Do you know what I'm saying, Ty? Like,
I do, because you look at the guy that invented the freaking light bulb. He went and became an apprentice for free. Warren Buffett was asked, I don't know, there's a story about him going and asking an investor when he was younger, can I just like shadow you for 6 months for free? And he said, no, you're too expensive. Our generation does not understand that when you put your nose to the freaking dirt and you pound and you grind, you learn how to hold a hammer, you learn how to like shovel, you learn about the dirt and the soil, and you actually learn how to build. And you build it the right way. But entrepreneurship isn't about just always building, it's about also learning, I really suck at this, and I need someone else to figure this out for me. And my analogy is I'm a great creative big picture thinker. Like if you want to think about the end from the, the end from the beginning, dude, I can take you there, make you feel it, and then get you stoked, because I've heard enough rah-rah in my life.
Yeah.
But like then to pull it down and then be like, what's on this keyboard right now? What am I going to do? The last 5 days, I've been up at night writing every single text message, email throughout my whole entire sales process, and I'm seeing holes left and right. I say this shit every day. Like that doesn't say what I say out of my mouth. That's not what's written here. But again, I have to go back to my eyes and actually look at the person that's there and be like, how do I do this? How do I get this in front of somebody to see if it can be better? Golf's that way. Golf is all about millimeters, like little things. You change one thing, motherfreaker, it changes another thing, and then another thing. I've been playing since I was 10 years old, and it pisses me off every single day. Played yesterday. But I don't have the time to actually put into it to where I have the habits to generate, what my expectations in golf are. Because I'm so focused on business right now. I didn't even want to play golf yesterday, but I did it because I was with agents. It was a waste of time. I was not that type of person 3 years ago. I am now. I want to be present with my business. I want to nurture it. I want to figure out all the holes, make it a little bit better. It's a machine. It's not Tyler. How do I make this machine better? If I tweak this bolt just a little bit more, if I put this over here, what does it do? That's entrepreneurship that people don't talk about. Is asking why every hour of the night, 3 a.m., 5:30 at night, your wife's talking to you in the truck and you're thinking about something else and you're like, oh yeah, I'm totally present, but I'm thinking about it. You can't shut this off if you're an actual entrepreneur. There's no such thing as balance. You can only give them so much and then you go right back to it because that's where your mind's at. I learned that a long time ago, but I also learned recently that if I can just devote a small fraction, that's what they remember. Bedtime with my daughter takes about half an hour. Don't do anything but that. Okay, my wife, let's talk for 30 minutes. Let's say it's 30 minutes and let's talk. Put the phones away, shut off the TV, no distractions. Because I am always thinking of how do I make this thing turn? How do I make this thing go? I don't know. I love it though, even though it's exhausting, it's fun, right? Like I think that's the beauty of it.
And sometimes it's not.
It's not, but it is, like, because you and I both thrive on it, but we also know when that thing's chunking and it's blowing white smoke and the motor's not running the right way, and all of a sudden we look back and we're like, dude, the driver's like almost passed out because he's about to burn out here.
Yeah, this is the thing that like I question in myself. Do you have what it takes to do this when it's not fun? Consistently. And when is that season coming? Right? What are your actions going to be when it sucks? What are your actions going to be when your wife's pissed off because you spent too much time at the office, but you know that you have to in order to get the freedom you're looking for to then give all of your time? Do you have what it takes when your kids are crying and saying, Daddy, I wish you were home to tuck me in at night? But you know that you won't ever be able to consistently tuck them in if you don't sacrifice for the next 6 months or the next year, right? Like those are the things that I want to build a fortress around. And the answers are going to be in the results that come from my actions, right? When everything's blowing up, when the legislation changes and brokers are under attack even more than they are right now, right? When pricing sucks, when that wholesale lender that's your go-to disintegrates, when the team blows up, you see, like, those are the things that I have, that I'm like, I guess we're going to find out. Up front, I had all the gas in the world, and I knew it. I got the biggest gas tank out of anybody out here, and that's the thing that's going to allow me to win and grow and get farther down the line. But what happens when you're out of gas and then the hard comes? What then?
I think you can be wired differently, dude. Because guys like you, when that stuff hits, we're like, "Frick yeah, game on," you know.
That's
but like,
not true.
it's because I think it is. Because I'll tell you why. Because you've been there before. You've done it before. Because you've lived this lifestyle where you've went so hard so many times that eventually you learn how not to do it. And when you get to that bottom and you run out of gas, you have the habits in place to, again, go back to mind, body, spirit. And you always put those as a priority because those will come back and they will dictate what happens. When I have a really shitty day and it's all there, I got to go back to those 3 things. And I tell myself that. That's not hoopla. That's not like freaking rah-rah. That's like straight up taking care of yourself. And all this self-care that we talk about, cool, great. But what it means is like, freaking take care of yourself. Don't make excuses. Yeah. Don't find a crush. Because when I lost 4 loans in 3 days, and my wife said, go to the gym, I went to the gym, changed my body and my mind, and then I started going and doing the little things again. Gas tank's gone. No check in July. So, cool, whatever. We're still going forward. August is a new month.
That's it, and that's the part that I love. When I say that's not true, I'm not saying that we're not going to do the things, but at times, the real reward as an entrepreneur is having the ability to go into the E, right? No gas, burnout, pissed off, disintegrated emotions, lack of confidence, whatever it is, right? And still taking another step. I think about in Goggins' book, it's called Can't Hurt Me, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. In Can't Hurt Me, he talks about like literally defecating and urinating on himself, fractures all over his feet and legs, and still choosing to take the next step. There was not one piece of that man that had fun taking that next step, and he still did it. It's not like he was rainbows and butterflies and this like champ. No, he was broken. He was depressed. He was absolutely shattered, and he still chose to move forward. Like that underlying momentum is what I want. And I want to know that I have it. Yes, I've seen it before. I've like pressed through like we're talking about. You've done the same thing.
I'm living it right now.
Bro, like, no check, like that's hard.
Yeah, like complete honesty. I've been all in since I've moved over to the broker world, and it's like, yeah, I'm surviving. But yeah, those thoughts run through your head at 3 a.m. and like you end up and you start putting, you go and you start doing those things. But like, here's what's cool about David Goggins. My wife just ran a try. She never swam before in her life. She went and got a coach and figured out the little things to make her better in a swimmer. She's ran her whole life. She's been a long distance runner. We went and got her a bike. She started training for a bike. I started riding with her with a bike. Goggins did not just show up to that race all of a sudden and just say, I'm going to be a millionaire. I'm going to kick ass. He went pound for pound, foot for foot, mile for mile, months, weeks. And I've read that book. And I also saw the dedication that my wife put in. She took third in her age group behind 2 people that raced Ironmans, and she was 10 minutes behind them in this try.
Crazy.
And I asked her, I go, you don't listen to music. That's rah-rah for some people.
Mm.
You're all by yourself. What goes through your head?
Whoa.
And she goes, just the next mile marker, just the next corner, just the next little dot in the swim. She was so fetching competitive with herself and what she was doing and how she was keeping herself attainable to her like level that nobody else cared in the world. And I even I have my girls, right? And we see her running and she just like gives us a wave. Boom. Flow state, whatever you want to call it. The problem with all this rah-rah stuff is like the flow state comes from us, not from books, not from all that. Like it's cool to go learn about these habits and things, but and I'm guilty of this, man. I read like 1 or 2 books a month. Like because I love audiobooks, I love hearing that stuff, I love thinking about it. But they're just like little impressions. You still have to go put the one step forward. And then loans, like this is like the greatest wealth opportunity of my lifetime.
Yeah, for sure.
And I'm so stoked. Like I've been to 2 events in the last 2 days. Mostly lenders. Want to know why? They're all freaking hunting. They smell blood. And all of them are, nah, just boom, right off the gas. You're like, dude, you're empty on your tank.
Yep.
You're probably full of shit right now. And then they talk to me and like, yeah, I do have that presence where I'm like, yeah, it's feast or famine, man. Like some weeks are this way, some are that, but like, man, I'm enjoying my time with my family. I'm enjoying working. I'm enjoying like getting things dialed. Man, I would even talk to you. I'd share everything I'm doing to see if it works for you. I don't know. It's kind of working for me. They're like, what? You're going to give? And it's like, yeah, abundant mindset here. That's what I believe in. That's what my company believes in. Stop being a little bit and being a sheep and just following what rates do.
Yeah.
So.
It's very true, bro.
Bro, we could go on and on, man. We could go on and on, but I think both of us got to get going because I know I do. I got a few calls, but
same, bro. This is good.
Thanks for jumping on. Seriously, man, it was really good.
Yeah, this was great, bro. We should keep this conversation going.
I may seem like I'm a rah-rah guy, but like, trust me, man, I've been around it too long to know that it's full of shit.
No, the thing is like, and this is the last thing I'll say. At times we have to be, right? Because that's the only thing that's going to keep us going. Is like this freaking fairy tale.
It's Eminem, dude. My knees weak, palms are sweaty, right? Like we all get there.
Yeah,
like
100%.
We all get there.
100%, bro.
But it's the moment we realize that like that adrenaline or that, it's just like the analogy of striking gold in a vein, right? Like keep digging. Keep digging. You don't know when the gold is going to happen.
And watch with that faithful eye, right?
Yeah, exactly.
That's it, bro. Thank you, Ty. Excuse me.
You're good, bud. Hi, man. I got some people that are shopping and got a couple, so hopefully, bro, I'm coming after you. That's all I'm going to say. You give me a year or 2. I'll be there.
Let's go. Sounds good, man. Have a good Saturday.
You too, bud. See ya.
See ya. Bye.